Hello everyone. Welcome to the last topic of our Learning Alliance, Induced Informality and how to manage it. In the past topic, we have analyzed the definitions of informality, the types of informality and its relationship with inclusive growth, the ways to measure the type of informality that is prevailing in a country, and finally, the policies to deal with voluntary and subsistence informality. For the next 2 weeks, we will be discussing policies to reduce induced informality. This type of informality includes those workers willing to work in the formal market, but somehow segregated from it by excessive regulation or by implicit rules of the society. Accordingly, the policies to face this type of informality can be divided in two: policies to reduce excessive labor regulation and policies to reduce discrimination in the labor market. The first group of questions relates to the excessive regulation on labor markets that restrict the capacity of firms to hire workers formally. Here the line is very diffuse because it's difficult to tell when a policy is excessive. It seems clear that workers should have some kind of protection and that this protection improves income distribution and the likelihood of decent work. But also too much protection can make formal hiring too expensive and therefore increasing the unemployment and informality. As an example of these types of policy, we have a PowerPoint presentation of an exercise that we have performed in FEDesarrollo to estimate the impact of the 2012 Colombia tax reform that reduced the payroll taxes. We also include some materials that showed both sides of the story of increasing the minimum wage and of having regional versus federal minimum wages. You will also find a summary from Siddharth Sharma on the impact of informality of making labor laws and regulation more flexible in India. The second group of policy are oriented to reducing labor markets discrimination. It is important to note that discrimination in this context should be understood as those workers that show preference for informality and have similar education and experience as formal workers, but somehow are segregated from the formal market by implicit discrimination rules of the society. In this context, women that, for example, decide voluntarily to be informal cannot be identified as suffering discrimination. To illustrate this issue, we include some evidence of discrimination in the formal labor market in Colombia, controlling by experience, education, and preference for informality. We also include an article by ILO that proposes empowering women in Africa to reduce informality. We therefore have 3 questions that we want you to have in mind when participating in this Learning Alliance. The first one: how strong is induced informality in your country? Does it occur mainly because of discrimination or because of excessive regulation? The second question: do you think that the minimum wage has to be increased or decreased in your country, but taking into account both income distribution and informality and unemployment? Similarly, and very related to this, do you think that the minimum wage should be set in a national way or in a regional way? Having in mind the pattern of informality in your country. And the third question: what policies do you propose to reduce race and gender discrimination in the labor markets? Therefore, we have a really interesting topic ahead, that it's a great way to finish our Learning Alliance. I hope that you both have enjoyed and learned from this past and promising new discussion. Thank you.